Let's meet Mrs. D and see what defines someone who holds a nurturing perspective on teaching and learning. So, Mrs. D views building relationships and making connections with her students an essential aspect of teaching. Her learners take center stage and inform how Mrs. D approaches her teaching methods and material. She is motivated by an ethic of caring for her students as whole individuals with distinctive needs, motivations, contexts, and barriers to learning. So she spends time and energy assessing and enabling her students' readiness to learn. Mrs. D works hard to create and sustain a safe learning environment where students are comfortable making mistakes, taking risks, and asking questions. Mrs. D regards her learners' confidence or positive self-concept as essential for learning. She works hard to help students understand their own value, abilities, and goals. And she enjoys giving her students a voice. Mrs. D believes that learning is both an emotional and cognitive endeavor. Negative emotions can adversely affect learning, and so she considers fostering positive emotions fundamental to the learning process. And when there are negative emotions present, how to process those, overcome them, and turn it into something positive. Mrs. D wants her students to be successful in learning and in life, and derives enjoyment and reward from seeing her students succeed and enjoy the learning experience. Mrs. D views herself as a facilitator of her students' learning. Her prime responsibility is to empower her students to take ownership of their own success. She sees learning as a journey rather than a destination, and is privileged to enter that journey for a time. Mrs. D fosters a student's self-efficacy by both supporting and challenging them to set and meet their own goals. Self-efficacy does not mean giving pep talks alone, telling them they can do it, but it also grows through personal effort to overcome challenges as they embrace the materials she presents, and it gives them a sense of pride in their accomplishments. She encourages her learners to embrace their unique context and experiences to make meaningful connections with her content to further their understanding. She's the one that will direct her students to share their cultural backgrounds, to utilize their differing understandings of an issue from multiple perspectives. She defends the values of both effort and achievement. She prefers to enable students to improve through feedback, positive reinforcement, personal goal setting, and self-assessment rather than institutional exams. Mrs. D will sometimes choose to accommodate a learner's contextual challenges and consider what support they need to improve. Often improvement is more valuable than mastery. Mrs. D identifies with her learners, and this empathy informs how she teaches. She's identified and expressed her own struggles in learning and feels this is essential to make connections with her students and between her students. So as Dave Smolder said in the chapter, and so good teaching becomes very much a mirror to good learning. As such, Mrs. D is vigilant in being authentic as a person. And this defines her credibility as a teacher. She's clear about who she is and who she is not, and is open to discussing her own strengths and limitations. She also feels she has a lot to learn from her students and is open to being challenged to think differently. As a side note, for those who are curious, yes, Mrs. D is me.